Hey, HannahMouse1 here. Welcome to another video. This one is going to be completely different from my regular content, which is why it's an additional upload. Instead of me doing some random craft or sculpt, this is going to be a video about something I did quite recently. I made a video game. It's called Quaint Strawberry Uprising, and it's available for free on itch.io. Go play it. Or don't, I don't really care. This was just me delving into the world of game development, which is something I really enjoy. And I was wondering if it would be something you would be interested in seeing as a part of my regular content. Now, I don't usually beg for likes or comments, but it would be really useful to get an idea on how you feel about this in comparison to the content you see more regularly on my channel. Personally, I think it would be a really nice change, and it would give me more time to work on my video game projects without feeling stressed or pressured by needing to get to work on the next video. And in reality, I never really said that HannahMouse1 was specifically about arts and crafts, and was supposed to be about me doing whatever I wanted. It just kind of fell that way because art is my passion. That being said, I have always had an interest in game design. When I was about 7, I was introduced to Scratch in my primary school. We were taught to make simple maze games or something, but while most of my class moved on pretty quickly, me and a few of my friends got into it, like really into it. Like 10 years on, I still sometimes use the platform into it. I've made many games and animations ranging from awful to passable to stuff that I'm actually pretty proud of. My most popular project is School Builder Idol, with over 48,000 views at time of writing. But honestly, while this is the only one of my projects that ever got featured, I don't even think it was my best work. It was over a year old when it made the front page, and I believe that a lot of the work since then is a lot more polished. My personal favourite game is the puzzle game Broken Pieces, in which the main character is forced to piece things together after a mad scientist causes them to shatter. I was super proud of that one. There are a couple reasons that I stuck with Scratch for so long rather than moving on to something more substantial. Firstly, familiarity. I enjoyed using Scratch, and the idea of leaving the safety of what I knew I was good at seemed pointless and scary. Of course, I did occasionally dip my toes into other programming languages, but I'd never get much further than downloading Unity. The prospect of typing in that first line of C# felt too intimidating, and I had no idea where to begin. It just seemed easier to make things on Scratch. Another was that the standards are so much lower on Scratch. With the exception of a few extremely talented creators such as Griffpatch, the majority of Scratch users are kids. Young kids who don't do much more than follow the most basic tutorials and think that everything better than like Snake is some incredible work of art that they could never possibly live up to. That means that there is little competition and an easily impressed audience who are eager to validate your work. Sure, I admit that seeing my loves and favourites ticking up made me feel good, and I'd smile at every comment saying, "This is so cool," or "very good game," and on some level, I didn't want to go from being the big fish in a small pond to a tiny fish in an ocean of indie development where the standards are sky high. And lastly, it always made my heart flutter a little to look at a finished project and think, I made that on Scratch. Maybe it isn't going to blow any minds and maybe the code is less readable than a bowl of alphabet soup, but I made it and it works, and I am a little bit proud of that. I like the idea of pushing the limits of the platform, and I was always keen to see how much more I could do. But at the end of the day, it is still Scratch. It is essentially a method for children to get introduced into the world of coding, and while it certainly can be used for so much more, I felt it was probably about time that I flew the nest, which meant it was time to decide what platform I was going to fly to. I started with Game Maker Studio 2. I had 3 major reasons for this. The first is that my maths teacher recommended it. The second is that of all the platforms I had tinkered with in my previous ventures away from the drag and drop platform that we all knew and loved, it was the one I gelled with the best, even though I eventually lost interest. The third is, at the time, I was knee-deep in Yahtzee's dev diaries over on The Escapists. I was fascinated by his endeavour to complete 12 games in a year, and it was one of the first devlogs I really got invested in. I think the first was Lens Island by Flow Studio. Now YouTube devlogs are just about my primary source of entertainment. and those two series are really what got me into that part of YouTube. I bring this up because the Artie uses GMS2 for his games, and that convinced me that GMS2 was worth a shot. I dived headfirst into the platform and started on several projects that never saw the light of day. The main reason for this is that I didn't bother starting small, I just dived straight in on a passion project. I thought it'd be funny to make a spoof dating sim about me and my friends because we all been playing Doki Doki Literature Club at the time. A problem with this is that I had no idea where to start and just muddled my way through coding. I know that GMS does have some kind of building block system, but I never really looked into that. I just jumped in with coding by stitching together various tutorials. Another problem I quickly ran into is I'm not a fan of video tutorials. This is because I typically like playing music or a video in the background. I hate working in silence, and a part of video tutorials is you pause and catch up with them, then unpause. I had to keep pausing and unpausing whatever song or devlog I had half my attention on, and I completely lose the flow of it. It worked better with written tutorials. Then there was an issue of the fact that in the beginning I was developing my skills so quickly that I'd soon feel irritated by how complicated my own scripts were and have no idea what I've been trying to do, let alone how to tidy it up. When I was on my first project that would never see completion, I decided Game Maker Studio 2 just wasn't for me. I had, by this point, watched my way through an obscene number of devlogs, and of them, I was most envious of the features presented by Unity, so I decided to make the jump. That's not to say my venture with GMS2 is a total waste of time, not at all in fact. At the root of it, GML is a fantastic coding language that, unlike the confusing mess that is C#, feels like every word and line makes sense. The names of everything feels obvious, like keyboard check key checks if a key is currently down, for instance, and it made it considerably less scary to get started. And when I made the jump to Unity, I find myself thinking, how would I have done this in GMS? And what the heck is it called here? C# does feel way less intuitive than GML, and that's the main reason I struggled with Unity in the past, but with months of Game Maker under my belt, I felt like I could make a real shot of it. I also took this way smarter than I had with Game Maker. The first thing I did was make a Pong game by following a tutorial line by line. The great thing with Unity is that there are plenty of written tutorials which are easily followed regardless of what I had playing in the background. Then I made Snake, again following a tutorial to the letter. Then I made Breakout without a tutorial. A lot of the features are the same as in Pong, so it wasn't much of a leap. Then I thought about how to step up the complexity of my next project. I decided to make a top-down shooter. At first I was going to keep it really simple with a basic square for a player, shooting basic square bullets at a basic square enemy. Then I had a thought. A few years ago, I was talking with a friend about making a Unity game. I don't really remember much about the original idea other than that it was called Quaint Strawberry Uprising. How we came up with that, I have no idea. I can only guess that it was some random prompt generator website or something. But either way, this became the premise of my top-down shooter game. So yeah, I made Quaint Strawberry Uprising, where you play a strawberry who wants to take over the world. For reasons. Are you the good guy? Are you the bad guy? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's just a premise to add minimal context to a pretty generic top-down shooter. The most I can say about it is that it works and it wasn't made in Scratch. And yeah, I'm saying proud of this. I know it won't be the next big thing, it isn't revolutionary in the slightest, and it certainly won't make me rich and famous, but it was never meant to. I set out to make a game, and most importantly to finish a game, in Unity. And that's what I did. Which means that even if 3 people play it and call it boring, generic and stiff, it doesn't really matter. I did what I intended to do, so this can't be anything but a success. I think that's why I failed at Game Maker and why I was so afraid to leave the world of Scratch. It felt like every project I made had to be a full, perfect, polished experience that everyone would talk about. At the end of the day, very few people get that success, and even less so when you're talking about your first project, when you don't even understand the platform. And you have to accept this very simple fact: if you never make anything, nothing you make will ever do well. So stop overscoping and think about what you want to achieve at the most basic level. Release a game, make a platformer, make a game in 3D, what have you, and do it. That's what I did, and I've got to say I'm pretty happy with myself. And on that, I think we're done. Like I said, please let me know if you guys are interested in more game dev content. I'd absolutely love to make more of it for you. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. You'll get your regular art content back on Sunday, so see you there. Bye!